So your formula to easy content creation is what we're going to be talking about today. There are two little extras. So we will be diving into content pillars and what that looks like when it comes to content creation. And then we will also go into a little bit of consistency work at the end, kind of two little bonuses. So about me, for you guys who don't know me, which most of you do, but those who are watching the replay might find this useful. I am a content coach for online coaches like you guys, and I also manage my own done-for-you social media management agency for bigger clients. I retired from the corporate world in November 2021, just passed my 1 year. And when I worked for corporate, I worked with pretty big brands that you might know, like Combi, which is a ski brand here in Canada, the Running Room, Golf Town, and done so many collabs with influencers, I can't even count them. My goal here is to help online coaches elevate their businesses and show up confidently online, and just create content just efficiently, because what I have done through market research is realize that online coaches have really good content and they have really good knowledge, but it doesn't always stick. So I want to change that. Now, time is money. We all know that. And social media shouldn't feel like your second job. So with that being said, diving in to the next slide. So your content DNA is really branding. And when we think about branding, most people think of branding as visual branding. So your colors, your logos, your fonts, but it goes much deeper than that. And if we're thinking about deeper branding, we're talking about the why of your business, your mission, vision, and your content pillars, which is the bigger part of what we're going to be talking about here today. So diving into your content pillars, what those are essentially are the main talking points of your social media and your business. So for my business, my content pillars are branding, marketing, content creation, and mindset. So those are things that you will see often in my content on social media being repeated. And there are a million different subjects that I can talk within these content pillars, but that's the main talking points of my social media. So I want to know what your content pillars are. So if you can drop them in the chat or just turn on your mic and let me know what your content pillars are. I would love to see if you guys have them figured out. If you don't, that's totally fine. Seeing everyone else's might just spike inspiration. Anyone up for the task? No? If not, we can keep going.
Yes, I'll put it in the chat, but this is in French.
I can't see my chat for some reason. There are too many windows open here. Oh. Yeah, if you guys want to drop them in the chat, I've paused it and found it now. Santé globale. Sorry, guys, this is in French. Caro is French for you guys who don't know her. Okay, I love that. So you have them like pretty figured out. Love that, love that. Okay, so we're gonna keep going here. Before we do a deep dive, I want to highlight one mistake that I see online coaches make all the time on social media. And that one mistake is they often talk about what they want to talk about, not what their ideal client needs to hear. So that is a big disconnect when it comes to social media. Is your content shouldn't be a guessing game, and you should be talking about exactly what your ideal client needs to hear in order for there to be a connect. I'm just letting in Corinne here. Hi, Corinne. You haven't missed any of the important stuff quite yet. We just started. So yeah, that's the main problem that I see people is they say what they want to say, not actually what their ideal client wants to hear. So if we're going into how do I create my content pillars, how do I go upon it? Because if you've never come across this, you might have no idea how to choose them. And this shouldn't be a guessing game. So this all derives from your ideal client. So you should know who your ideal client is and who you want to work with. I assume all of you guys do. Pardon me. And yeah, you want to be talking about what they need to hear, not what you want to be talking about. So if we start with your ideal client, what I always suggest to my clients to do is do your market research. If you haven't done your market research, you're missing probably a really big part of your business, is knowing exactly where the gap is in the market and how you can help. So obviously, everything derives from your ideal client, and all of your content will be based on market research, because you need to find out what their pain points are, what their struggles are, what their fears are, et cetera, et cetera. So you will decide your content depending on obviously what aligns with your business service, like what your result is, what result people get from working with you, and also what your client needs. So that kind of is the DNA of your content. Am I making sense so far? No objections? So this will make a lot more sense. I know this little graph might be confusing, but when I go into the next couple graphs, it'll make a lot more sense. So once you've figured out their pain points and you're doing your market research, you will notice different questions that come up that are in regards to those pain points. So if I look at the next slide here, it'll make a little bit more sense if you're visual. I know I'm visual, so this makes a lot more sense to me. There's many different ways of organizing this quote unquote brain dump. But essentially your core topic here is your service. So what you do, what the result of what you do would be. And then you have your underlayer topics, which are your content pillars. Now, you can have 3 to 6 content pillars. It really all depends on what you do. I know Jonathan does fitness and nutrition. So obviously there's a couple of different things that can go in each of those branches. So he might end up having 6, while other people might only have 3, which is totally fine. So within here, you have your core topics, and we can go to the next one in a couple minutes, but you would add your content pillars in here, and then all of your subsequent questions that are related to that content pillar in here. And all of this will make sense, I swear, in a couple minutes. You can do the same in a brain dump if you prefer doing bubbles. That's also fine. That also works. For me personally, I prefer using an Excel spreadsheet. I do not have it listed here because that is my pride and joy, and people pay for that. So if you're interested, I can dish the details later. But yeah, that's kind of how my brain works and how I organize stuff. But here's why I do this. So I'm just sorry. Ooh. Okay, so here's why I do this. So with one question is an infinite amount of content possibilities. So you have, let's say, 4 content pillars with a bunch of different questions in there. If we take only one question from one content pillar, for example, here I have, how do I build authority online? Well, there's various different ways of answering that question, right? So how do I build authority online? You can share a client win. You can share your knowledge via workshops. You can talk about your credentials. So those are all ways that I can answer that one question. So all of these can be individual posts. Now, each individual post can be different type of content. So it can be a static post. It can be a carousel. You can share your client wins via reels. You can go live and talk about them. You can make a blog post. So there's many different ways to share this one piece of content, which realistically, this one piece of content is not one, you probably have a lot of different client wins. So you've already seen now how this one question that you have within your content pillar is turning easily into 15, if not more, pieces of content. Now, you might be saying, why would I repost something that I've already shared? Like if I already shared my client win via static post, why would I go live and talk about it? Aren't people going to be tired of hearing the same information? Well, no, repeating information in the marketing world is good. On average, information can take up to 7 times before it's retained. And that's if they see your content, because we all know with the algorithm, content is seen by about 10% of your following. So it can take a couple different times before it's retained. And that's not talking about how everyone learns differently. So saying something one way and saying something another way might click for someone that doesn't click for someone else. If we go completely off book here and we talk about a little personal story, when I was a dancer, for you guys who don't know, I used to dance. I danced my whole life. Throughout high school, I always got the same correction from this one teacher, and she always told me the same thing, the same way, and I never got it. It never clicked. And when I got to university, when I started to dance in university and had a new teacher, I had a new perspective. Someone explained it to me differently, and everything makes sense. Everything that I didn't understand when I was younger throughout all of my years of dancing now made sense after this one comment. So you never know who and what will work for who, so you repeating if information is actually a good thing. So don't be afraid to take content that's worked previously and repurpose it by saying it a different way, posting it in a different manner, using a reel that worked and making a carousel out of it. All is good. Don't feel like people will be annoyed by seeing your stuff. So I'm going to pause there because we're going into the next little bit. I'm going to check the chat. Has anyone have any questions or anything? Or are we good to move forward?
I'll ask a question.
Yes, go for it.
When you're talking about reusing content, because that way you can get it across multiple times, what would kind of be the way you would go about it in terms of how often would you reuse content? Say like you're trying to recreate content to put new stuff out there, but say you have pieces of content that really worked well. How often would you go about possibly reusing a piece of content in that sense, whether it be a photo or a reel or something like that?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that. Like I said, when we were talking this week about a story that you posted, and I was like, this would make a great reel. Posting it the next week really does no harm at all. I think that if you're posting something to your feed that is like quote unquote permanent, then obviously you don't want to be reusing it next week. But if it looks completely different and you're coming from a completely different perspective, why not even? So I would just be mindful of not having them too close together in your feed. But I think after a couple of weeks and it's gone down in your feed, I think reusing whatever works. And if you see that it has like high engagement, definitely use that content again. And like once you figure out what works for your audience, you definitely should be sticking with that. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions before we move on? Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. So now that we've talked about the DNA of your content and you now have a million ideas for content after you've done your market research, let's talk about consistency. So you have all these great ideas, you have all of this stuff. Well, how do I stay consistent? Because you don't want to be doing this all day, every day. You don't want to be writing content for hours on end. You don't want to be filming content and posting at all hours of the day. So batching here will be your best friend. So What I do, honestly, and I can vouch for you guys, can probably do 1 day a month to batch your content, because realistically, you're one person, you have one social media platform. I do my clients' work in about 2 days, and I have multiple different clients and really big scopes of work, and I am able to batch pretty much all of my content in 2 days of the week. So batching basically means you always have something on the go without always being online, so you can focus your energy on engaging with your community and not like creating content on the fly. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that you shouldn't create content on the fly. If inspiration strikes, I am all for it. You definitely should. That's when our best work comes out. But having something batched throughout the week kind of removes the pressure from you having to post and having to come up with stuff. So you want to be batching reels, you want to be batching your graphics, images, and also your captions. So all of your writing, I usually do that in a day. If you want to like split it up, do all your reels one day and then all your captions the other day, that's fine. But definitely batching is important. Now, a lot of people think about batching only for what I just talked about, but it also is way beyond that. You want to be batching your content and scroll social media consciously. So not just like, we all know we all scroll social media, but taking the time to do so consciously is important, because it'll save you in the long run. So you also want to be batching ideas. So if you see, I don't know, this influencer posted something that you could totally make relevant for your niche, then save that, use the little bookmark option and save that as an idea bank later. I'm not saying copy people's content. I'm just saying you can pull your inspiration from sources and use that later. You don't always need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to pull brand new ideas out of your brain all the time. You can look at what's working on social media and take that idea and apply it to your niche. That being said, also trending audios, if you guys do make reels, which you definitely should, trending audios is the little arrow that's diagonally pointing to the top on the bottom left corner when you're scrolling reels. Saving trending audios and those that you could apply to your niche and could apply to your content will save you time when you come to film your reels and all of that fun stuff. So you're not scrolling on social media trying to see, okay, what's trending, now I'm filming it, and yada yada. Make sense? Any questions about batching at all? No, we're going to keep going. So scheduling is basically your consistency. It's your best friend. It should be your best friend, because then you don't have to post at a certain time. God knows if you post at 8 a.m. and you're not up at 8 a.m. to post, then luckily there are tools so that you don't need to do it. My suggested method is Facebook Business Suite. It is free. If you guys have any questions, I can answer those later. You can schedule both Facebook and Instagram content on those, and it is completely free. It also has a higher yield than conversion than third-party apps, because Meta tends to suppress what is not scheduled within Facebook. So it's a better option than the third-party apps. Although I don't know if you've noticed, but your business page doesn't get great traction and Instagram is kind of wonky lately. So the other options are still really good options. But my suggested option is definitely Meta Business Suite. If you are looking at third-party options, you do need to have a business account, not a creator account. The third-party apps won't let you post on a creator account you absolutely need a business account. Great options for those are Hootsuite, Sprout Social Later, and Planoly, which is my personal favorite if we're talking about third-party apps. If you are looking into a third-party app and want to check out Planoly, let me know. I do have an affiliate link, which gives you a discount. So I'm happy to share that with you guys if you need. Any questions before I move on to talking about something else? I'm going to exit this for 2 seconds, see if there's anything in the chat. Any questions, guys? I can't see your beautiful faces right now with sharing my screen. I'm so sad. Okay, so if now I know I just threw a bunch of information at you and it is pretty surface level, but if you're interested in learning more, I have a 6-week group coaching program to get you from being a social media slave, I call it, to social media pro. Here's the marketing coming out. It's basically to help you understand your content and really do a deep dive on how to create content in less time and just do it efficiently, but also creating content that converts. Now, we've talked about how to do it efficiently with content pillars and all of that fun stuff, but we haven't really talked about what works on social media and what kind of content you should be posting, which is a whole other conversation. But essentially in this 6-week program, I do a deep dive into your target market psyche, essentially, because if you think about marketing, really, it is kind of psychology. You're tapping into people's brains. And so that is week 1. We're targeting your target market, doing your market research, all of that fun stuff. Week 2, we're going into visual branding. So creating a visual brand that makes you stand out. There's a lot of people online and you do want to have a visual brand that is strong. As much as we talked about the underbelly of branding, now the visual branding is also very important. Week 3, we get really clear on the directive of your content, the strategy on building a soulful brand, I call it. Yeah, it's really important to have all of that nailed down to create more content. Then 4th week is the social media audit, which is optimizing all of your socials and understanding the famous algorithms. So breaking the algorithm down for you guys, A to Z, so you don't need to try and figure it out. There are some ways to work with the algorithms. They are not shadow banning your content. Most of the time, people just aren't doing it right. And then the Elevate method, which is my specific method of teaching marketing, is how to apply your market research and your content pillars to create content efficiently, consistently, and learning how to do all of that batching, repurposing, and write captions like a pro, create reels, like anything you can think of, like showing up confidently on camera, creating reels. Everything is broken down for you. Everything is taught to you on a one-to-one basis, which is your content creation 101. Oh my God, I skipped one, sorry. So content creation 101 is everything that is content creation. And the Elevate method is what converts. So how do you get followers on your Instagram to become paying customers? Which, I mean, you can have 100,000 followers, but if none of them are paying you, then what good is social media? So that is the basically outline, resources, live trainings and Q&A, and also community support through a Facebook group, which you get access to forever. So whenever you have questions, that group will be there to support you. And we have some client results of people that have worked with me in the past. This course was previously done through Learn Yourself. And I have switched it now to it being a like one-on-one, not one-on-one, but 10-on-1, I guess, group setting teaching, just because I want to be so much more hands-on with your process on content creation. So yeah, all of this for $12.97. That is the full payment, but I do offer payment plans, and I can work around you guys for the holidays, because I know the holidays are coming up and that is a stressful time for everyone. Q4 is wrapping up. There's lots going on at the end. So if any of you guys are interested, let me know. I'm only accepting 10 people in this cohort. I do not want a group bigger than 10 because I am giving you homework. I am really, it's really customized, and we're working with you. I'm working one-on-one with you guys to make your content and make sure that your content plan is solid and something that you can use and reuse and reuse. And that being said, if you sign up before the end of the month, you get a bunch of fun little bonuses I've been working on. So caption prompts, some templates, story prompts, and my reel templates guide. So that is that, guys. I